Yeah, I think everybody's doing the thing with the last minute holiday stuff. Of course, I'm doing the thing with the last minute packing and preparing. So good to see you, Janet, and anybody else who may be tuning in either virtually or to the recording. John Lavenia here. Welcome to our Success Mastermind for Thursday the 23rd. I get to have a break. Usually, let me say this. Usually, it's enjoyable to have a break from the subjectivity, right? So like all the thinking and computer and staring at a screen. But the last few days, I get to have a break from the objectivity, right? All the physical stuff, which is terribly therapeutic when we spend a lot of time in the in the virtual world to go touch rocks and pack boxes and whatever. But that also gets old after a while. So Janet, I'm seeking a balance. That's what I'm doing. Hey Virginia, I'm seeking balance between subjective and objective stuff. That being said, I'm glad to be here with everyone. What I wanted to talk about a little bit here was something I just noticed for myself. How many of us read, well, not read, but listen to audiobooks? I just was doing that just as I was loading up, garage equipment and stuff. Hi, Lindsay. And I had a choice that I could make. I could, because I was in a little bit of a frantic mood. It's one of those things where, it's the last day for packing and it's got to get done. It's got to get done. All right. So I was in a bit of a frantic mood. And I thought, what would be smart right now? To put on some metal? Yeah, I could do that. Well, you know what? I could listen to some audiobook stuff. And I decided to do the latter. And so I started listening to this audiobook and I was thinking of all the stuff, all the time that we spend not necessarily thinking about, the philosophies of life and, all the stuff that we tend to talk about here, but that we could still, through repetition, through consistent inputs, we could reinforce. And so that's exactly what happened. I got to reinforce some things that I thought I already knew. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And my emotional state increased. It was because I was frantic at first. And then I was like, you know what, we're going to get this done. Here we are. We're going to get this done. I'm getting it done. Right. So even though I was in objective mode, right? In other words, putting stuff together and using my hands and my body, I still had the monkey chatter going on in my brain until I did what? I supplanted it with some right thinking. So when is right thinking not appropriate? Like when would that be a good time to deliberately say, you know what, I just want to think whatever I want to think? Probably never, right? Now there are people, couple caveats to this. There are people who seek to escape. And I don't know that that's anyone listening to me right now, but people who seek to escape through mind-altering chemicals. Anyone who has been hanging around with me for a while knows that I'm 100% sober, have been for decades, and intend to be. It's never helped. In fact, we can see, and I'm not talking about going and having a glass of wine with a friend or whatever, fine, whatever, okay? But I'm talking about things that I was intimately involved with back when I was a youth, a troubled adolescent. And the idea that we could deaden the senses, essentially to escape from our own miserable realities, that seemed workable at the time. It didn't work. I'll tell you that. It didn't work. In fact, it just makes things worse. So again, I may just be stating the obvious, but look, there's a lot of people who thought they were going to get really lofty. Next thing you know, they're dropping LSD and wrong path. I'll just tell you, in case you're curious, wrong path. The other caveat that I'll bring up is that audiobooks are not a replacement for the written word. So a lot of times I recommend books to people. And while I'm busy, can I just, listen to the audiobook? Well, you could get the audiobook as an adjunct to, as an upsell, from the paperback or the Kindle or whatever you're buying. But the written word must be consumed without distractions. In other words, and I think we've all experienced this because we have a book study group, right? We did this with Think and Grow Rich. We spent 1 week per chapter. There's 15 chapters in that book. We spent 1 week per chapter. And still to this day, we did just as we did then. And that was maybe a year ago we did that book. But we park on a word if that's what's necessary. Park on that word. Grab the dictionary, right? Now, you can't do that with an audiobook because I'm packing boxes. I'm doing stuff, which is good and right and necessary, and in some cases therapeutic. And I'm getting reminders, I'm getting reinforcement, but I'm not getting full attention. How many times have we seen, and you could assess this for yourself, where you were having a problem, let's say, with I don't know, a piece of equipment or something. So you referred to the manual, which you had read, assuming you read manuals, I do, but assuming you had read the manual when you bought the item, and now you're using the item, and time has gone on, and there's one function that you haven't used in a while, and so you need to get the manual out, even though you purportedly read it before, and now because your attention is on it with intent. So attention and intention. Now you find, what were the words that I missed there? What was the instruction? What does that word mean right there? What is that thing? Right? Let me go get the full conceptual understanding of what the instructor was trying to tell me in this text. Interestingly, when we got my wife's current car, it came with some features. Just a little tangent here, but it came with some features like a auto parking thing. You guys are going to laugh. My wife's car, not my car. So I didn't read the manual. I'm like, here you go. And, I'll drive the car too. But there's a couple of buttons in this car. I'm talking about a 2020 Chrysler Pacifica Limited. A couple of buttons in this car that we never use. One of them is like this auto parking thing where I think you're supposed to be able to just like press the button and like the car parks. It's like parallel parks or something, or I don't know. And neither does she, because she refuses to read the manual. So we've got this probably awesome feature. It probably costs thousands of dollars. And we've never used it. We had the car for what, a year and a half now. And maybe that comes down to, you value what you pay for. We got it in a, as part of our high production as a bonus, but with one of the companies we do marketing with. So what's the point? The point is that, yes, it's good and right to reinforce things that are right thinking kind of stuff, right thinking, right living, resourceful, ideas. But it's not a replacement for really studying and really getting this in your brain so you can actually use it, even when the audiobook isn't playing, even when it seems out of context. And to that end, I'm happy to run these groups and do everything that we're doing here. This is about as big of a topic as I can think of, because it's real for me right now, as I'm breathing dust and actually sweeping out underneath stuff that hasn't moved in over a year, discovering that there are pack rats that somehow like to make their way into the garage and leave little miniature Tootsie Rolls and chew up painting supplies. They apparently like paint rollers. Now, okay, this was a mystery to me too. And now, like out of all the stuff they could have hit, I had some like paint roller, like paint supplies, the rollers, right? And under my toolbox in the garage, concrete floor. But, rats get in where they want to get in. And that was the one thing that they enjoyed, paint rollers. Now you know. Anyway, any thoughts on this? Tomorrow, by the way, we're going to have Adrian out here because I'm going to be packing a truck and not talking. I guess talking to the moving crew. Who's got some thoughts on this? Written word, audio book, and I guess drugs would be the third item. We don't have to take that up. But do you guys listen to audiobooks and lectures and seminars or YouTube videos and things like that to supplement your written studies? Virginia, hello, my friend.
Hey, good morning. I only got to take my hand down.
Yep.
I prefer, because I use my eyes so much on the computer and all, I prefer the audiobooks, and I will listen to them as I'm going to sleep. And that's why quite often in the book study group, I'm on a different chapter, or I've already read it, or I've already heard it, and it's hard to reference back. I do agree that the written word is very powerful. I like to highlight, like you know that. I like my books, so I can reference them again. So I will sometimes get it. If I like the audio and I like where we're going with it in the book group, I thought I really want this, and maybe more so I want it on my bookshelf, so that when I'm at some point no longer around and they're going through my estate, maybe my grandkids will run across it or something.
Mm.
What was this book that grandma was writing? Well, yeah, it might be one of my written books, who knows, or reading is what I meant to say. And I like a combination of both, but I really, really appreciate the audiobooks for the chance to just chill out and just listen. And I love it when the author is the one that is narrating the book instead of some random third party. It just gives it more substance, more meaning, more credibility, I think. So I use both.
I like that too. I'm glad you bring that up, because a recital by some professional voiceover person, to me, doesn't seem as authentic, because it's not as authentic, right? I want to hear from the author. And sometimes the author may even interject. I was listening to Grant Cardone on one of his audio versions of his book, and he goes off script. And so, by the way, when I wrote this in the book and blah, 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 right? So the chapters are getting longer as he's talking. And I think some of that stuff, some of that editorial kind of stuff, can be really cool and insightful, which you may not want to put it down in the book, or the book will be, 100 pages longer than it has to be. And I was thinking about that as it relates also to what you just said, as far as, read by the author. Has anyone here, oh, this is a book we got to read, by the way, The Traveler's Gift. Has anyone here read The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews? Andy Andrews, we've done a couple speaking engagements with him some years back. Funny guy, from LA, Lower Alabama, that is. And that's one of his jokes. He's a bit of a comedian, right? Yeah, I'm from LA, Lower Alabama, and in Lindsay's world. But he has this book, The Traveler's Gift, which is a fictional story of this guy who gets to go back in time and learn the lessons from the people who have shaped history. And so in one of the chapters, I think it was a car collision that put him into a dream state or coma, right? But in one of the chapters on the audio book, which never listen to this audio book while you're driving, okay? Because in one of the chapters where this guy has a collision in his car, not only do you get the narrator, talking, you also get the sound effects. And I will tell you that I was driving my car, this was some years ago, listening to this audiobook, and I have high fidelity sound. Okay. I like good sound. And this car crash sound happened. It was screeching tires, the whole thing. And I just about crapped my pants. Thanks, Andy. All right. There you go. Any other thoughts on our, yes, Janet. Hi, Janet. How are you?
Good morning. So I hope that my heater, tell me if I need to turn off my heater because it's making sound.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. Okay, so I got Millionaire Mind when we were doing that as an audiobook. It was a better price. No, it didn't work. I didn't. I want to read at the pace I want to read, sometimes very, very slowly, so I can really digest what's being said, so I can go back a paragraph and what was that again? And I can back and forth my book. I want it in my hand. I want to be able to really go, oh, maybe I want to be on this chapter and then I'll go back and read that chapter. No, I want to read it not in real time, the way it's read. So I haven't done that with us, exactly. I was there in our club, but I wasn't contributing because I wasn't reading it. So that didn't work for me. Now, some people, audiobooks, like if it's an old radio drama, the kind of thing, if it's a fictional thing, if it's something like that, then I know people who read it on a long trip. That my girlfriend lives in Durango, her husband lives in Phoenix, and it's 8 hours, and when they're traveling together, they listen to the books. That's a good use of it. And you guys, I agree with the author. I like to do things when the poet is reading the poem, because I can hear what they've put into it. And I do like the idea of the author saying, well, because the audiobook is done after. So it's like, well, I was thinking this at the time, but now I'm not sure of something or other. I like all the editorializing, so that's a nice thing. But no, to read for content, to hear for content, because what do I do? Audio.
I just lost Janet. Hello. Are we live?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can. There you are.
Okay. I'm sorry, my connection went funny. So I like when I want content, I don't want to sit there and take notes. I have to do some training right now where the only way I can get it is notes off of the audio. I have to stop it, go back, da. I want my eyes are stronger. I want to be able to see it. I want to be able to digest it when it's something like we're.
Lost her again. All right. Well, lost Janet's sound. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Is this working? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've gotten kicked off twice. I'm sorry, John.
You're back. Okay. Well, yeah, the idea of taking notes, which some people would argue that makes it more, it sticks more, right? And I think that comes back, Janet, and everyone, to the idea that if you learn something as if you had to teach it to someone else, then you'll really learn it, right? So there is a difference between a glib, or cursory knowledge of something versus the practical application ability to practically apply and to explain it to another person so that they understand it as well. And so I got that early on in my studies. I got that, and maybe it was because of the high necessity level for, actually digging into the written word and all this. As many know, I got my start into personal development and all this back 35 years ago or whatever in 12-step groups, right? Learning how to, not pollute myself and be a total crazy person. And so that was kind of life and death, right? So this is not a glib sort of a thing. This is very real. I think the other part of this, and I think that Janet kind of touched on this, was that when you can balance the flows, right? So I'm taking in ideas and I'm putting out ideas onto paper. That allows us to objectively look at our thoughts, right? So there it is in the journal or what have you. But it also allows us to not get so weighed down. A lot of times, think of like a college student, and they're cramming for an exam, and they've got a lot of data, which isn't relevant, by the way. They may or may not use this ever in their life, but they need to pass the exam. So right there, that's rough. That's a rough road, right? Because now you got to, I guess, remember and recite. But to what end? If we had practical use for this stuff, and some of it, of course, is useful, okay? But, I think a lot of the things that people are getting right now in university are not usable or in the marketplace, right? How many people are at Starbucks right now serving up coffee with their college degree? Kind of tragic. Okay. Now you can make other choices too, right? I don't think anyone here, we're not giving out examinations. Maybe we should. Probably not. But we're not giving out examinations. Does your life work? There's your examination, right? Are you getting more of what you want and less of what you don't? And if it works, then work it. I'm not terribly interested. Hi, Janet. I'm not terribly interested in sounding important or something. I just want my life to work. Hey, Janet, come back out.
Yeah, I want to say about the college exams, because
Mhm.
I have spent a lot of time in that place. What the thing that college did for me mostly is it taught me to think. So the exams are not necessarily, and often not parroting back things that you've studied in class, that you've read for class, that you've done whatever. If very much you'll go in and it'll be thought questions. It certainly will not be, multiple choice, which is like guessing, but it will be, based on or whatever. You have thought questions. Or my one philosophy thing that really weirded me out was the question was why. And I spent 3 hours writing about why. I think that my roommate put down why not. I think she was done very quickly.
Oh my goodness.
but mostly really it teaches you to think, not to parrot back, not to be, underline that word and remember that word. It really is. And for me, when I'm reading a book, it's easier for me to read something and then bookmark it and close the book and think about it, think about it, and then to go back and read it again, and back and forth, reading, the thinking. I like to think about things. So, I sometimes, if I want to really digest it, then I want to think about it. And the audiobook, it's like they're running away with things. I can't stop it and go back and reflect and back and forth. So if it's a choice, it's going to be the book when I want that kind of a learning experience. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. And we got Lindsay up next. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, I think I kind of have in college, I enjoyed it, and it taught me more about discipline, I would say, but it was really good to my senior year. And then I realized, holy shit, they're perfect. They're telling me what to think. And I'm like an employee mindset. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to work for me. So I did, but I was mentally checked out at that point. I was like, I'm not doing this. I gotta figure, well, I guess it did teach me to think, because I knew I wasn't going along with their thoughts. And I was like, I don't like this. But I mean, it was a fun experience, but I've not ever used my degree. But
right. Well, as Jenna was saying, how to think, but that's different than what to think. Right. So I think a lot of times people will accuse modern academia of enforcing what to think rather than how to think, shutting down debate, critical thought. Right. So I mean, it's not neutral. That's harmful. Right. So I'm thinking, what we're doing here is certainly much more self-determined. And I may, guide you here or there, but you've got to decide for yourself how you're going to use this stuff. All of it's for use, right, Lindsay? I mean, look, yeah, I've seen your transformation, like in terms of just your outspokenness, your assertiveness, your determination, your confidence, right? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And what got that done? I couldn't predict, it's this or that, phrase or that book so you know what, do it all. People sometimes say, what's the one thing I should do? Here's the one thing, do everything. And that's the thing. And then something's going to stick.
That is true.
Yeah.
And I don't mind speaking my mind now. What's somebody going to think? They probably don't.
Yeah, right. Hey, I might see you on Monday, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good times. Thank you, Lindsay. Anybody
Thank you.
else on these ideas today? We all good? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get back to the thrill of moving. You can live vicariously through me if you like. But anyway, I love you guys. I'm going to see you back here on Monday. I'm thinking we're going to do a session from the road. I might be with Glenn in Houston at that time, depending on scheduling. But anyway, thank you for being here. And I'm not going to see you before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Have fun with Adrian tomorrow. It's going to be a nice general session on Christmas.